What if I told you that the old wok hiding in your kitchen could become the most enchanting part of your garden? Today, you'll see how simple objects, woks, spoons, and forks can be transformed into a rustic herb corner that feels like it belongs in a countryside fairy tale. Welcome to Backyard Fortune. This channel is where we turn overlooked objects into magical garden creations. In this video, you'll find timestamps so you can jump to what inspires you most. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it keeps this dream alive. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're helping a small family hold on to hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing me. One plastic gallon vertical farm. Imagine walking into a garden where every corner feels both ingenious and comforting. Along the stone wall, rows of old plastic gallons have been given a second life. Their tops are carefully cut, and from within rise crisp lettuces, tender spinach, and strawberries that dangle like tiny jewels. In the morning, the dew lingers on their leaves, and butterflies drift lazily in the golden light. What could have been waste now breathes as a living wall of food and fragrance, framed by roses and lavender. It's a reminder that sometimes abundance hides in the simplest reuses. Turn to another corner, and you'll find tall towers made of the same repurposed containers, only here they are dressed in soft mint and sky blue. Each level spills over with cucumbers curling downward, cherry tomatoes cascading in little clusters, and the gentle perfume of parsley and basil wafting on the air. It is not just a clever space saver, it is a quiet declaration that beauty and practicality belong together. A few containers, a little imagination, and suddenly a plain patio becomes a small homestead rich with flavor. Further on, a wooden frame holds dozens of gallons laid out like steps, each filled with tidy rows of cabbages, lettuces, and parsley. Between the trees heavy with pears and apples, this structure glows as the evening sun slips lower. Birds find perches, butterflies trace invisible patterns in the warm air, and the whole scene hums with life. What could be more soothing than sitting on the small bench nearby, watching your food grow, feeling the peace of a garden that works with both your hands and your heart? If you ever wondered whether you could try it yourself, the answer is yes. Cut and clean the containers, arrange them safely with wood or paint them in cheerful colors, then fill them with good soil and the seeds of plants you love most. These simple materials, when combined with patience, can turn any small yard, wall, or balcony into a vertical garden that feeds not just the body but also the spirit. Every plant that grows here whispers a story, that what we once thought disposable can instead be the foundation of something nourishing, beautiful, and endlessly inspiring. Two, basket harvest fence. Along the quiet edge of a cottage path, where gravel crunches softly beneath your steps, baskets sway gently on the wooden fence. Once used to carry vegetables from the market, they now cradle fresh lettuce, parsley, and the tall green shoots of spring onions. Morning light leans across the garden, and the lavender nearby releases its fragrance with every breeze. Butterflies flicker past, honeybees hover, and what might have been forgotten baskets have found a new purpose, transforming a simple fence into a living wall of green abundance. Move further and you find another stretch where wicker containers, weathered and warm with age, hang at different heights. From them spill clusters of cherry tomatoes that catch the sun like rubies, mint that perfumes the air, and cucumbers dangling with quiet pride. The shadows shift across the cobblestones, painting patterns that change with every cloud overhead. Here is a small reminder that vertical gardening does not need to be complicated. Only a basket, some soil, and a little imagination can turn a fence into a feast. At the far side of the orchard, as evening light gilds the sky, rows of baskets brim with herbs, peppers, radishes, and leafy greens. The fence stretches out like a quilt of textures and colors, bordered by wildflowers that sway in the warm wind. Pear and apple trees lean overhead, heavy with fruit, while a wooden bench waits in the distance, inviting you to rest and take in the scene. It feels as though the whole place is alive, a small countryside dream woven together with everyday objects. If you ever feel your garden has no more space to give, look again at the fences and rails you already have. A few sturdy hooks, a handful of old baskets, and you will discover new ground in the air itself. These woven containers breathe, allowing the roots to stay cool and the soil to drain, making them perfect homes for herbs, greens, or even small vegetables. What was once ordinary becomes extraordinary, not through great expense, but through the gentle art of reimagining what is already in your hands. Three, broken dish mosaic path. There is a quiet magic in walking a path that tells a story beneath your feet. Here, broken plates and shards of glass have been reborn, pieced together into a winding mosaic that gleams in the morning sun. Shades of blue, green, and white shimmer like water in motion, guiding you through rows of grapevines, roses, and lavender. Birds hop along the edges, butterflies rise and fall with the breeze, and what was once discarded now leads you forward with elegance and grace. Elsewhere, the path straightens, bordered by neat rows of cabbage, lettuce, and carrots. Apple and pear trees stretch their branches above, offering shade and fruit. The mosaic underfoot glitters in the afternoon light, fractured pieces catching the sun like scattered jewels. It feels at once humble and extraordinary, reminding you that beauty is not always about perfection but about finding harmony in the imperfect. This is a walkway you can create yourself, saving old dishes and glasses, setting them carefully into mortar, and giving them a new life as something both practical and poetic. At the garden's edge, a more playful design emerges. Swirls and stars made of colorful fragments dance across the path, leading toward a wooden bench beneath a pear tree. Moss grows softly at the borders, wildflowers nod along the edges, and nearby vegetables thrive in the healthy soil, peppers, eggplants, and leafy greens. As evening light drapes everything in gold, the path glistens as though it had been sprinkled with stardust. It doesn't take much to imagine yourself here, creating such a walkway in your own space. Gather broken plates, old cups, or cracked tiles that might otherwise be forgotten. Lay them out in patterns that speak to you, circles, spirals, or flowers, and set them into cement or sand. What begins as fragments becomes something whole, something that not only connects different parts of your garden but also connects you to the joy of making. Every step taken on such a path becomes a reminder that even broken things can be woven into beauty, carrying us forward with quiet wonder. Four, tire orchard planter. Imagine stepping into a garden where the simplest discarded object becomes the foundation of new life. Here, old car tires, once forgotten and worn, are painted in soft shades of pastel and transformed into planters for tiny orchards. Apple, pear, and citrus trees rise proudly from their circular cradles, while lettuces and peppers gather at their feet, creating a scene that glows with early morning light. Bees drift lazily between blossoms, and butterflies dance above the wildflowers, reminding us that beauty often blooms from what we choose not to waste. Further along, the mood shifts into the warmth of afternoon. Tyres in earthy tones cradle lemon and orange trees, their branches heavy with fruit. Strawberries spill over the rims, vibrant and sweet, while cucumbers weave their way across the soil. A stone pathway winds past these planters, leading the eye toward rustic fences and nearby grapevines. The entire garden feels like a hidden orchard, touched with golden light, where every detail whispers of abundance born from care and creativity. And then, at the heart of this transformation, stand larger, weathered tyres turned into grand orchard beds. Within them grow flourishing dwarf trees, apple, fig, and peach, surrounded by vegetables that thrive in their company. Broccoli stretching upward, onions rooted firmly, pumpkins curling outward with bright promise. Rows of lavender perfume the air, roses climb elegantly in the distance, and birds rest on the rims as dragonflies shimmer through the air. It is a vision of plenty, of harmony, and of possibility. Creating such a tire orchard is simpler than it seems. Clean the tires thoroughly, paint them if you wish to add a touch of charm, and stack or place them securely where they will receive good sunlight. Fill them with rich soil, choose dwarf fruit trees or vegetables suited to your climate, and watch as life unfolds. Over time, these planters will not only yield food but also bring you quiet joy, turning discarded rubber into circles of growth and wonder. This is not just gardening, it is storytelling through renewal, where each bloom and harvest becomes a reminder that nothing is ever truly wasted. Five, bamboo and straw rustic fence. There is something deeply grounding about a fence built not from concrete or steel, but from the earth's simplest gifts, bamboo poles and straw bundles. Here, the garden feels as though it has borrowed a page from the countryside of Europe, where handmade structures blend seamlessly into the rhythm of the land. The bamboo stands tall, its natural strength holding together sheaves of straw tied with care, forming a rustic boundary that protects and beautifies all at once. Within this humble enclosure, vegetables thrive, beans twining upward, cucumbers hanging like emerald lanterns, and peas climbing gracefully toward the morning light. Every shaft of sunlight that filters through the fence paints golden patterns across the soil, reminding us that a garden can be both productive and poetic. Birds perch on the fence posts, butterflies drift between blossoms, and suddenly, this handmade creation feels alive, breathing with the life it shelters. The beauty of this idea is not just in its charm, but in its simplicity. Old bamboo poles can often be found discarded or sold cheaply, and straw is a byproduct many overlook. Bound together, they create a fence that is sturdy enough to last through the seasons, while still allowing air, light, and pollinators to pass through. In the afternoon, when the sun casts its warm glow, the textures of bamboo and straw soften into hues of honey and gold. Herbs spill across the edges, parsley, mint, and zucchini vines weaving their way into the fence itself, blurring the line between what is structure and what is plant. As evening falls, the fence takes on another life. Ivy begins to creep along the bamboo, while pear trees and grapevines just beyond add shade, fruit, and fragrance. There is no harsh division here. Instead, the fence feels like an invitation, welcoming nature in, guiding plants upward, and whispering of a slower, more mindful way of living. If you ever wish to create a garden boundary that speaks of tradition, resourcefulness, and beauty all at once, This is the kind of project that asks only for your hands and a bit of patience. It proves that elegance does not need to be purchased. It can be grown, woven, and tied together from the simplest things, standing proudly as both guardian and storyteller of your garden. Six, DVD Sun Sparkle Fence. There is a certain kind of quiet magic in turning what was once forgotten into something that shines again. Old DVDs, no longer spinning inside machines, now hang proudly along the garden fence. Each disc catches the sunlight, scattering tiny flashes of blue, green, and violet across the leaves. In the stillness of morning, with dew resting gently on rows of lettuce and tomatoes, the shimmering fence feels less like waste repurposed and more like jewelry gifted to the earth. This simple idea is more than decoration. The reflective surfaces help keep curious birds from nibbling tender crops, while adding a subtle sparkle that makes the garden glow at every hour of the day. When the wind stirs, the discs shift and twirl, their reflections dancing across the soil like fragments of a rainbow. Underneath, herbs such as parsley, basil, and thyme thrive, releasing fragrance each time you brush past them. The combination of practicality and beauty is what makes this recycled project so rewarding. You are protecting your plants while creating an atmosphere that feels enchanted, yet real. In the golden light of evening, the effect is especially captivating. DVDs tied to bamboo or wooden frames move ever so slightly, sending soft reflections across strawberry beds and onion rows. Beyond the fence, pear trees sway and climbing roses unfurl their blossoms, as if joining in the display. It is not an illusion or a fantasy, it is simply the garden showing how even the most ordinary objects can be transformed with a little imagination. For anyone seeking a project that blends function with wonder, this is an idea worth trying. The materials are easy to find, the assembly is simple, and the outcome is a garden that not only grows food but also tells a story of renewal, of creativity, and of beauty discovered in the overlooked. Seven, Suitcase Flower Nook. Imagine walking through a garden where stories bloom in the most unexpected corners. An old leather suitcase, once a silent witness to countless journeys, now bursts open with lavender, daisies, and wildflowers spilling over its edges. It rests gently on a rustic wooden bench beneath apple and pear trees, as butterflies hover gracefully above. The morning sun filters through the orchard, painting everything in a soft golden glow, and suddenly the suitcase feels less like an object and more like a secret doorway to a whimsical world. Further along, a pastel-painted suitcase, worn but full of character, sits neatly on cobblestone near a wooden fence. Inside, marigolds, pansies, and petunias bloom with unrestrained joy, their colors bright against the soft green of strawberry vines trailing down the edges. Behind it, grapevines climb toward the light, and the afternoon air carries the fragrance of basil and thyme. This little suitcase becomes more than a planter. It becomes a reminder that beauty thrives when creativity meets care. And then, tucked under the shade of a pear tree, another suitcase tells its own tale. Tulips, sunflowers, and violets stand proudly within it, framed by wildflowers at its base. Birds perch playfully on the handle, while butterflies dance in the evening light. It is a scene so simple yet so full of poetry that you can almost hear the hum of the garden as it whispers its secrets. Turning old suitcases into flower nooks is more than just recycling. It's a way of planting memories, of allowing forgotten objects to live again, this time filled with color, fragrance, and life. It's a DIY idea that requires little more than soil, blooms, and imagination, but what it gives back is priceless. A garden that feels like a storybook, alive with charm and endless inspiration. Eight. Barrel bloom fence. Along the winding garden path, something unexpected greets the eye: rows of painted barrels standing side by side, not as storage for oil or waste, but as vibrant vessels of life. Once forgotten metal drums are reborn in pastel blues, sunny yellows, and soft pinks, their rounded frames brimming with marigolds, lavender, and cheerful daisies. At their feet, pumpkins swell on the soil and cabbages unfurl wide green leaves, the whole scene glowing under the tender touch of morning sunlight. Each barrel is more than a planter. Together they form a playful fence, guiding you gently forward as butterflies rise in the air and bees hum between the blossoms. As the day shifts toward afternoon, the barrels reveal another side of their charm. Painted in deeper tones, reds, greens, and bold blues, they cradle bursts of sunflowers and roses that lean eagerly toward the golden light. Vines trail down their sides, softening the steel with a touch of wilderness, while in neat beds nearby, rows of carrots, onions, and broccoli speak of nourishment and care. Behind it all, apple trees sag with ripening fruit and grapevines curl along their trellises, reminding us how beauty and practicality can flourish together when we give new purpose to old things. By evening, the glow of the sun casts a gentle warmth over barrels painted in turquoise, cream, and soft yellow. Here, pansies and petunias spill with abandon, while eggplants glisten and lettuce heads thrive in the cool of the soil below. Dragonflies skim the air, wings catching light like shards of glass, while butterflies settle briefly before lifting again. It feels almost like a cottage dream, a garden where recycled steel and tender blooms create a harmony that is at once rustic and magical. And the best part is how simple it can be: just a few barrels, a coat of paint, a handful of soil, and seeds full of promise. Suddenly, what once stood forgotten becomes a story of color and life, transforming even the humblest corner of a garden into a place where wonder grows. Nine. Chain vine trellis. Under the soft glow of morning, imagine walking into a garden where the trellis itself tells a story of reinvention. What once were heavy bicycle and motorbike chains now rise into arches, strong and weathered, carrying the weight of grapevines that drape like curtains of green. Clusters of deep purple grapes dangle above rows of crisp lettuce, onions, and peppers, creating a scene that is both abundant and poetic. Butterflies flit between the blossoms, and the hum of bees lingers in the air, a reminder that beauty and productivity often grow hand in hand. In the warmth of the afternoon, light catches on the links of chain, each glistening bead of dew turning metal into something unexpectedly elegant. Cucumbers spiral upward, their tendrils wrapping around the steel with quiet determination, while pumpkins stretch across the soil below. Apple and pear trees frame the garden, their branches heavy with fruit, while cabbages and carrots fill the ground with a living mosaic of greens and oranges. What began as discarded material has become a backbone of growth, sturdy and full of charm. As evening approaches, the same chains form an archway woven with grapevines and roses, a blend of fruit and flower that feels almost enchanted. Green grapes hang beside cherry tomatoes, their colors glowing against the fading light. At the base, strawberries peek through the leaves, promising sweetness to come. Dragonflies glide lazily across the air, their wings shimmering in the last golden rays of day. It's a scene that feels at once rustic and magical, a testament to how even the most unassuming scraps can be transformed into something timeless. If you're inspired to create your own chain trellis, remember that strength and imagination are the only essentials. Old chains can be welded or simply tied together to form a lattice, ready to hold the weight of vines or climbing vegetables. Over time, plants soften the rough edges of metal, weaving nature and industry into a single story. Wok Spoon Herb Corner. In the quiet corner of a garden, an old wok finds a second life. Once meant for cooking over fire, it now overflows with basil, thyme, and rosemary, their fragrance rising gently with the morning breeze. Around its rim, spoons and forks, once forgotten in kitchen drawers, stand upright as whimsical garden markers. They shimmer in the sunlight like little guardians of the herbs, and butterflies drift lazily above, as if drawn by the perfume of green leaves. It is a reminder that beauty and practicality can be found in the simplest reuse of what we already have. As the day stretches toward afternoon, another wok sits gracefully upon cobblestones, cradling parsley, mint, and chives. Old silver spoons, engraved with names of the plants, rest among the soil, tiny signposts that turn gardening into poetry. A pear tree leans nearby, casting dappled shade over lettuce beds, while bees hum contentedly around lavender blossoms. Choosing quick-growing herbs for shallow containers makes this not only charming but practical, a living kitchen at arm's reach. When evening comes, golden light spills across yet another corner where a weathered wok brims with oregano, dill, and sage. Forks and knives, once set for meals, now stand proudly as plant stakes, holding space for cherry tomatoes and bush beans. Strawberries cascade gently over the wok's rim, while onions push up from the soil in neat rows. It feels almost like stepping into a countryside fairy tale, where old tools, fresh harvests, and the glow of sunset weave together a story of resilience and imagination. Upcycling a wok this way is more than decoration. It's a practice that brings herbs closer to the cook's hand, adds character to the garden, and turns discarded cutlery into conversation pieces. With a little soil, sunlight, and care, even the most ordinary objects can become vessels of life and joy. And that's the beauty of the Wok Spoon Herb Corner. It proves that gardening doesn't need to be expensive or complicated. You can create something both practical and magical using only what you already have at home. If you enjoyed this idea, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you plant in your wok herb garden? Basil, mint, or maybe strawberries? I'd love to know your ideas. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and keep turning the ordinary into something extraordinary.